opinion is outdated in a sense. It could be that norms persist past their usefulness. That a norm starts perhaps because it is useful, it is popularly supported, but that over time that popular support wanes and it's simply propelled by conformity pressures. And so norms may live on past their carriers and may have lives unto themselves. So for example, the Sharif generational study, which I talked about, we talked about the Sharif conformity study last Tuesday. In the Sharif generational study, they have a bunch of people identify how much the light is moving on the wall, right? And they all estimate it, but then they start subbing individuals out and subbing in new individuals until they completely replace the population. And what they find is that that group estimate of how much the lines move, or sorry, how much the red dot is moved, persists even with all these new people. And so that's an anachronistic norm. And so what are some correlates of that in real life? Well, the persistence of customs that once served some purpose, but now we're just customary, which is a concept known as cultural lag, which is invented in sociology by William Ogburn, I think. And what are some examples? Summers off from school. We get summers off from school, right? Thank God. Why do we get summers off from school? What's that? Farming, exactly. It used to be that the United States workforce was overwhelmingly agricultural, overwhelmingly farmers. And so you had to have the kids go home and work the farm in the summer. Now, I think the farm sector of our labor market is less than 1%. I think it's been less than 1% for probably at least 50 years, or well, at least 25 years. And now it doesn't make any sense, right, to have this, right? I mean, we don't need to take summers off. Do you need to take summers off? I don't need to take summers off. No, we don't need to. All right, let's get rid of it. Well, it serves some new purpose, and you can imagine it would be damn hard to get rid of it, right? Because it's backed by real social sanctions, real social enforcement. But the original reason has waned. Yes, sir. Yeah, right, no, I'm okay with that. Yes, I'm sorry for criticizing anachronistic norms. I should adopt a more positive perspective. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I dig what you're saying. But yeah, no, obviously we all like the summers off thing. That's an example. There may be other examples though where that are less positive. I don't know. You'll have to make your own qualitative judgments of of what you think of these norms. I definitely am not trying to suggest one. Okay. Other examples, beauty marks and, beauty marks. You know where we got these from? The answer's right there. Okay, so beauty marks supposedly were a result of a smallpox epidemic in Europe, and moneyed women, aristocratic women, would put beauty marks over the top of their massive, disgusting, pussy smallpox sores. I know, that was pretty gross. I went a little further than I needed to with that. And so they put beauty marks over the top of them so that you wouldn't see that they have massive, disgusting smallpox sores. And now they became associated with women of high class, women with very nice dresses, and you just see beauty marks go with that. And now I think we all have beauty marks. We all have beauty marks because we're trying to look like aristocratic French women from the 17th century with smallpox. And I got into this as well. Pockets, collars, and tails on suits are all sort of anachronistic fashion staples. Things that we still put on suits, but they don't serve the function they originally served. So why do we have tails? Because men would wear jackets while they went horseback riding. They wanted to not tear the backs of their jackets. Why do we have now we still have pockets, but the pockets they don't even open. Right? They're ridiculous. Like they're just these lines where they're seemingly cut in a pocket. Collars. The collars used to serve some purpose. You flip it up, and now often you can't flip it up. Most of the time, I'd say most suits you buy, you can't flip the collar up; it's sewn down. And so these are just anachronistic. They refer to some old functionality that is now gone, but they have some perhaps new value that's positive. Yes. So more on unpopular norms. Here is yet another term for pluralistic ignorance and unpopular norms. It is the Emperor's Dilemma. And I think did you read part of the essay on the Emperor's Dilemma, right? Good, thank you. I appreciate that, sir. Okay, the Emperor's Dilemma refers to the Hans Christian Andersen story, The Emperor's New Clothes. How many of you are already familiar with this story? Okay, cool. All right, beautiful. Okay, so I'll nonetheless tell you the story. So, in The Emperor's New Clothes, 3 con men come to some town, and they promise the emperor that they will make the finest clothes out of a cloth that's so fine, so awesome, that it can't be seen by stupid people. And the only people who can see it are smart, and people who can't see it are unfit for office. Whatever that means, I don't know. But basically, they're stupid. So in fact, of course, there are no clothes. These con men are con men, and they're not really putting any clothes on the emperor. So finally, the emperor shows off his new clothes at this fancy parade, where he comes out and he's like, "Look at my fancy new clothes. You can't see them, you fool." And what happens? Everybody's like, "Oh my God, the emperor's new clothes are fantastic. I love the fabric, the cut. Oh, geez, it's so good, so well tailored." But a single child laughs, right? The single child does not understand the rules, doesn't understand that if you don't see the clothes, you're a moron. And so the child points and laughs at the naked emperor because the emperor is naked and looks very silly, and this triggers everyone to laugh in turn. The single child breaks the spell that kept the Emperor's Dilemma, this unpopular norm, this pluralist ignorance in place. Because remember, no one really sees them, but they're conforming as they think you're supposed to, and you'll be judged if you don't. This is a picture of the naked emperor. It's a rather like PG-13 one, right? Just his thighs are showing. And I remember I was working on this paper with a couple of with my advisor from graduate school and another colleague of mine, and we had to make a presentation, and I had to go to like the children's library to like find pictures of naked emperors, and this was the best I could find. I found another one of the guys like full on naked, but it looked really ridiculous. I didn't want to offend you. I know you guys are very refined sensibilities. I don't want to offend. Okay. So let's talk about the Emperor's Dilemma. Let's talk about the Emperor wears new clothes, the story. Let's analyze some concepts from class. So the norm, what's the norm? Well, the norm is to see and praise the Emperor's new clothes. Is it popular? No, it's an unpopular one. No one actually sees the clothes, right? No one actually sees it. Instead, it's propped up by what? Is it informational influence? Are you inferring that there really are clothes because everybody else is saying it? Do you actually literally see clothes there? No, it's not informational influence. It's normative influence. The reason you conform is you're afraid you'll be called unfit for office, that people will judge you as stupid because you're the only one that doesn't see the clothes. And then as with some unpopular norms, the spell is rapidly broken by a single dissenting voice, as in the fall of oppressive regimes. So what example is this most like? Where the kid gets up and says, "I don't see the clothes, this is hilarious, this emperor is cool," and everybody laughs, and it goes away really quickly, because underneath, they all doubted the norm the whole time. What example is this most like? The fall of communism, exactly. Where a few people go out into the central square in Berlin and say, "This is bogus," and you all think this, and then it breaks the spell, and everybody falls in line with the revolution. But is this what typically happens, is the big question. Is this the normal story? Is the fall of communism, as a result of an avant-garde that goes out and voices dissent, is that what normally happens? Is it the case that when there's an unpopular norm to see the emperor's clothes, that a single kid can laugh, and it'll break the spell? Is that normal? Is that the way unpopular norms work? And the way pluralistic, unpopular norms work? Well, I and a few scholars, a few of my colleagues said, no, that isn't the typical story. That may happen sometimes, and that happened in with the fall of communism, but that's not a typical story. That instead, what would normally happen if the kid stood up and says, I don't see the clothes, is that someone would enforce the norm on the kid. Someone would sanction the kid and be like, you son, are unfit for office. So we introduced this idea called false enforcement. And what is this idea of false enforcement? It's the idea that it is the enforcement of a norm that one privately disagrees with. And we believe that false enforcement can contribute to the stability of unpopular norms. The normal picture of unpopular norms that comes from Hans Christian Andersen is a very unstable one, right? If one kid is too ignorant of social rules to conform, then it'll break the spell. Or if one person is maybe courageous enough to stand out, then it might break the norm. But is this what normally happens? So perhaps in the real world, when the child laughs at the emperor, it wouldn't start a cascade. Instead, she or he would be sanctioned, and it would actually increase the social pressure and further bolster the norm. Because if you see the kid stand up and say the emperor is naked, and then a variety of people jump up to say, no, you need to shut up, the emperor is fully clothed and looks fantastic, then that would only reaffirm your concerns that you might get sanctioned if you spoke out, right? So then the question is, why would somebody falsely enforce? It's easy to imagine that false enforcement would bolster unpopular norms and be part of the story of their persistence and perpetuation. But why would it happen? Why would somebody falsely enforce? Well, they might do it to signal the sincerity of their earlier conformity. So having conformed, you might still be nervous that you're not signaling sufficient sincerity to the dominant norms in a group or in some culture. And you might go a step further to even enforce those norms as a way to show that's how conformist I am, that's how obedient I am to the group's norms, and that's how sincerely conformist I was earlier when I fell in line. And you imagine the opposite, you might take a reputation hit, right? If you were to not enforce a norm that you went along with, why would you not do that? Are you a hypocrite? Are you insincere? Are you posturing for social approval? And here, it reminds me of this quote from Robertson Davies, the writer Robertson Davies, who said that fanaticism is overcompensation for doubt. That when you see somebody vehemently enforcing norms, one of the things you might want to first suspect is maybe they don't even believe the view that they're enforcing. Maybe they do, maybe they're the strongest believers, but actually, maybe they're a non-believer who's insecure that they'll be found out if they don't enforce the norms. Here's an example of Salem witch trials. Have you guys read Arthur Miller's The Crucible? Have you read that? Raise your hand if you have. Wow, that's cool. All right, so I love The Crucible. I think it's an amazing play, and the whole thing's an allegory for what? McCarthyism, the Red Scare in the United States in the 1950s, well, 40s to 60s. And the story in Salem witch trials is that a few girls in Salem, Massachusetts, come out and say that they've been, that there's this witch in town who's been, possessing them and making them possessed by demons, and they turn in this witch. And then pretty soon this hysteria spreads around Salem as people turn in more and more witches. And why do they do this? Well, they'll go to you and they'll be like, okay, so you're suspected of being a witch. Somebody named you as being in the devil's company, whatever exactly that means. And you're given a few choices. You can confess, you can deny it, they'll probably kill you away, or you can turn somebody else in or turn in multiple other people. And indeed, Arthur Miller, in an essay he wrote about the Crucible, said, naturally, the best proof of the sincerity of a confession was your naming others whom you had seen in the devil's company. So this was the way to get out, was to confess and name names. And this was why Arthur Miller chose the Salem witch trials as his allegory for the Red Scare. Because how did you get out of, say, the FBI knocks on your door and they say, you're suspected of being a communist. We know you went to a communist meeting in Greenwich Village in 1949, and we know it was, awesome. And, and you're suspected of being a communist. We're going to throw you in jail. We're going to charge you with treason. What do? Your way out was to say, yes, I was there, and here are the other 15 people who were there. And then you get off, and those 15 people wind up in the same situation you were in. And that's the emperor's dilemma. So, what are some examples of false enforcement as an effort to show sincere conformity to norms? So one example that's been shown in past research is gay bashing as a way to prove one's own masculinity. Maybe people who express loudly homophobic comments and are derisive of homosexuals, maybe they are in fact covering up their own insecurities, their own identity concerns. And indeed, there was an experiment that was conducted by Adams, Wright, and Lohr in 1993, which showed that men who expressed more homophobic attitudes were actually more sexually aroused by homosexual pornography, which is very interesting. And I conducted an experiment showing that if you make a man insecure about his masculinity, he's more likely to express homophobic attitudes. So again, think about Robertson Davies. Maybe fanaticism is overcompensation for doubt. Maybe when you see someone with loudly homophobic attitudes, you often suspect that their private opinion is the exact opposite, that maybe they actually are concerned about their own sexual identity. Also, sanctioning mild politically incorrect comments to show one's own political correctness. I mean, we see this all the time where people get jumped on for maybe small comments, but they didn't even need to say what they said, and then people jump in and like, this is my opportunity to show how egalitarian, unprejudiced, or politically correct I am. Also, sanctioning people who don't understand esoteric scholars so as to demonstrate one's own erudition. This is something I talked about earlier in the semester, that I had this experience of going to a philosophy class and not having understood Martin Heidegger and feeling like I was justified in not understanding Martin Heidegger because he was really pretty hard to understand. And he himself said he was writing from the Black Forest as though he was acknowledging that he was an esoteric guy. And what happened, people were like, you are a Philistine. They were like, jumped on me, and they made fun of me, and they sanctioned me, they took me to the bathroom, did it swirly, the whole thing was terribly embarrassing, I've been scarred ever since. Other examples, you can criticize maybe others' lack of patriotism in order to demonstrate your own patriotism. This is something that you definitely see in everyday life. And yet another example, turning in communists or witches to avoid suspicion of being one oneself. Let's take a 3-minute break, and then we'll come back and talk more about pro-list ignorance. Okay, so back to unpopular norms. So a few years ago, I and some colleagues of mine, pardon like the self-referential research stuff, but it is a study that's I think appropriate to talk about now. I and a few colleagues of mine conducted a study to test this idea of false enforcement, because though it had been hypothesized in prior research and it had been shown that false enforcement can help perpetuate unpopular norms for obvious reasons, right? If you're not just conforming with a norm but then enforcing it on others, then that's going to increase the social pressure on others that will lead them to conform, even though you privately don't believe. So we know that false enforcement can help prop up or maintain unpopular norms, but is it real? Does it really exist? Is it the case that people will not just conform to a norm but enforce it on others as a way to signal the sincerity of their conformity? And so in a paper that I wrote with some colleagues, we tested this idea, and we tested it in the following way. We had a bunch of undergraduates like yourself sign up for an experiment. And the way that they had to sign up for the experiment was they first had to go online and qualify for the experiment. Or be sorted, actually, they didn't have to qualify, they'd be sorted into high and low aesthetic discrimination groups. So we had them take a test where they looked at a series of painting pairs. There were just 2 pairs of paintings by, significant artists of the 20th century, or so we said. And we said that one of these painting pairs was picked to be on a list of the top 100 paintings of the 20th century, which is sort of a ludicrous idea, but I'm sure somebody's done this. So, and we said, you need to try to guess which one was the one that was picked. And this was like impossible. They'd be like almost identical Rothko paintings or almost identical paintings by obscure modern artists that you had never heard of from Argentina or something. And you had to pick which of these 2 apparently identical paintings was the one. And it was almost impossible. So people did the only thing they could do, which was guess, more or less. Guess or kind of go with their gut instinct on whichever one they liked best. And then we'd say at the end, congratulations, you aced the test. This is amazing. You've been slotted in the high art or the high aesthetic discrimination category, and now you can come in to the lab for a wine tasting test because your aesthetic tastes are so refined that, we put you into the high group, And what we're hoping is that people would be like, oh shit, like, I guessed on that test, and I don't know. I thought those paintings were equal. I don't belong in this group. These are people who can really figure this kind of stuff out. I can't. So what we did was we then took them into a room, and my friend Co, who's a good friend of mine, he ran the actual participants in the study in session, and it was very fun. I had him dress like a sommelier, like kind of dress like he was serving wine, like a napkin over his forearm, and he'd be like, hello, welcome, and he'd sit people down in this lab environment at a computer, and then bring them these samples of wine, which they were supposed to taste. And beforehand, we had these instructions that say how they were supposed to taste the wines. And the instructions said, there's this long-standing tradition called the Dutch round, and this tradition is, it was invented in the Netherlands, and what happens is people taste wines in a circle, they stand around in a circle, and they taste wines. And then after giving their opinion of the wines, they then give their opinion of each other. They then evaluate one another and evaluate each other's wine tasting abilities in turn. In fact, of course, there's no such thing as the Dutch round. We just made it up. But its rules were perfectly made for the experiment that we wanted to create. So what we said was we're going to do an experimental version of this, and first we're going to have some kind of getting to know you thing where we'll exchange personal information, and then we'll do the Dutch round, this classic, rich with tradition ritual from the Netherlands. And so then we had people introduce themselves, and we randomly assigned the order. But in fact, it wasn't random. We had four people who were computer programmed that always went first, and those four people they identified themselves as all being like seniors who had like artsy-fartsy majors, like very very intelligent majors, and they all played like very like sophisticated instruments, and they all spoke foreign languages, and they all I think intended to go to graduate school. So like like an intimidating heady group, right? Probably much like yourselves actually, which is why I'm always so intimidated in here. But it's true, I can't speak another language, I can't play another instrument, and I never actually graduated from college. So yeah. So anyway, so these people, very intimidating, right? And then the subject had to go, and they'd say, okay, I'm 20, I'm a sophomore, and my major is sociology, and I can play, I can't really play an instrument, and I speak Spanish. I don't know about you French-speaking, violin-playing philosophy majors. And so again, this aesthetic discrimination environment. This is getting amped up, right? You're getting terrified. This person's into art history. This person's into philosophy. I'm getting freaked out. We're about to taste wines and try to evaluate them. I never really taste wines and evaluate them. And then finally, the sixth person goes, and they're simulated, and that person has like a GPA that's like 2.5 to 2.7. They're like a freshman. They play like the recorder, and and they speak like Finnish or something as their second language. Nothing wrong with any of this, but it's less of this kind of intimidating cultural credentials kind of environment, right? And we sort of designed this person to be like a lone child that would laugh at the emperor. No offense to the Finnish. So what happened was they didn't go to rate the wines, and two of the wines were actually. I can tell I'm going to get in some kind of trouble for what I've just said. I don't know how it's going to happen, but this is webcast, and I'm sure anyway. I'll report back on what kind of trouble I get into. It'll be amusing to all of you. So you had to taste these wine samples, and two of them were identical. But the four people who went first said, "My God, wine A is amazing. I mean, it's so effervescent, it's robust, its flavor, it's it's dry. Sure, it's dry, But I mean, the bouquet, oh." And so they rated wine A very high, and then they rate wine B as like, this is rubbish. This is a terrible wine. I don't know why I was served this. I'm upset. I might leave the experiment early, etc. So mind you, these wines literally are identical wines. They poured from the same bottle, one after the other. And we were interested in would the subject then conform to this norm, right? And of course, 50 years of conformity research shows, yeah, the subject's going to conform to the norm. They're going to say wine A is better than wine B, and they did exactly that. But that's not what we were interested in studying. What that is essentially the experiment started next. And what we had was we had a sixth person, the one who played the recorder and had like a so-so GPA. We had them say these wines are totally equal and they're okay. I don't know what you all are going on about. So that person is sort of like the child who laughs at the emperor, right? And we're interested in what happens when the child laughs at the emperor and says these two wines are equal, or the emperor isn't really wearing any clothes. And so then we come back through a second time. Again, this is the Dutch round, so you must then, after tasting the wines, evaluate one another and their wine tasting abilities. And we had the subject in the study always go first. Now, in half the time, they went first, and their ratings were going to be public. Everyone was going to see their ratings, and everybody would be aware of what their ratings were. And in that condition, what they do? They sanctioned the deviant, right? They said that this lone child who said the wines were equal is a fool, is a moron, didn't have any wine tasting abilities. And they said the first four people, excellent wine tasting abilities, very refined, yada, yada, yada. Again, even though these people are saying two identical wines, very different. But then in private, when they were free to say whatever they thought, what did they say? Well, in private, they said, no, the deviant got it right. Those two wines are totally equal. I just went along with it because, whatever, there was a lot of pressure. I was nervous. I'm young. I'm scared. And I don't taste wine very often. And then they said the four conformists actually weren't that good wine raters. So in private, the lone deviant is more competent in wine ratings than the conformist. In public, the other way around. And so one of the takeaways on this is if you could somehow elicit people's opinions privately and then tell everybody, maybe that would break the spell, And where do you see that technique used? So, yes. Good. Thank you. Bowling? Polling, yes, exactly. Yes, we use public polling. I was like, bowling. Man, you're crazy. Polling, yes, public polling, exactly. Sometimes we use public polling in order to keep careful assessment of what the actual base rates of public opinion are, so that we don't get swept up in an emperor's dilemma type situation. But another example would be, how many of you have lived in the dorms at some point? Okay, sorry, me too. It's good. Wow, that many people are unwilling to raise your hands. Okay. So, and when I was in the dorms, they had this thing where they would put up these polls, and they do these private polls, these private surveys of how much people were really drinking and how much they were actually comfortable with the drinking. Do they still do this stuff? Like put up these things? It's weird that they don't do this because it actually kind of works. We were cynical about it. We felt like we were being manipulated, but it's actually very smart. So they put up these signs, these posters that would say, actually, only 12% of people in a recent survey, 12% of undergraduates in a recent survey have been binge drinking the last month or something like that. And you'd be like, okay, that's not that impressive actually, but okay, all right, I guess I will feel less pressure to go out and binge drink. And what are they trying to do? What they're trying to do is sort of take the private condition from the experiment and make it public, right? Take privately gathered information where there is no social pressure and then make it the new public information to get a new sample and undermine the spell of pluralistic ignorance. Okay, so in the study that I conducted with my colleagues, the presence of social pressure led people not only to conform, but also to sanction the lone deviant. And the message was that people not only conform in the face of social pressure, they may enforce norms in the face of social pressure as well. Yes? Why was the sixth participant set up to be lower status than the first four? We want to sort of grease the wheels for the phenomenon to happen. We want to put people in a sort of culturally intimidating atmosphere where they're like, wow, I got in here luckily, based on some random guesses on these art problems, then I introduced myself. I'm a normal person. These people are very hoity-toity, refined weirdos. And now the one person is, speaking out, is another normal person, essentially. And we want to sort of grease the wheels for the phenomenon to happen so we can capture it. But we also wanted to capture the Hans Christian Andersen story, too, which has all these people who are fit for office, supposedly, conforming to the norm, and then one lone child who doesn't see the clothes speaks out. And we were curious, would that break the spell? And we found it'll break the spell if it's done in private, though it wouldn't be done in private in the Hans Christian Andersen story. It would be public. So in public, it wouldn't work. Okay, so the effects of false enforcement. People enforcing norms, or this is the takeaways from the study, people who enforce norms may not privately believe in them. Indeed, fanaticism might be overcompensation for doubt. Also, enforcement might be a way for people to signal the sincerity of their earlier conformity. So enforcement may not be something that you do because you want people to, you want to spread a belief that you have, or you want people to fall in line with a norm that you believe. Instead, it could be that enforcement is just another way to conform. And then finally, once false enforcement does emerge, then it may be that unpopular norms can become very stable, and it can be very hard to get rid of unpopular norms. Because once there's a lot of false enforcement,